Welcome to the Edgeworth Echoes podcast, discovering Edgeworth's town, a hidden gem of Irish history.
Hello and welcome to this edition of the Edgeworth Echoes podcast. This is your host, John. In this episode, I am looking back on Heritage Week, which ran from the 17th to the 25th of August, focusing on one main event, the recreation of an 1804 historical moment when Richard Lovell Edgeworth was able to send signals from Dublin to Galway using his new semaphore-based telegraph system. It was a remarkable achievement for the time. While Richard Lovell had explored the idea of a signalling system for some time, it was the reports of a system devised by Claude Chappe in France in the 1790s that spurred him on to do more work on developing his own system. As you will hear later, he was a man with a dream, and his daughter Mariah and his son-in-law Francis Beaufort helped him achieve this dream. The recreation of this event was the dream of another man, Ray Jordan, a retired telecommunications engineer, and it was his family who helped him achieve his dream. The Jordans and the Edgeworth Society teamed up in 2023, and using a mix of historical and modern systems, signals were sent from Edgeworth to Tullynally Castle, just as Richard Lovell had done in 1794. The Jordans and the Edgeworth Society teamed up again in 2024 to recreate the 1804 event, sending signals between Dublin and Galway, and the whole event can be viewed on our YouTube channel, link in the description. A couple of members of the Edgeworth Society travelled to Dublin to the Irish Museum of Modern Art, while others were based in Galway and at the Mariah Edgeworth Centre in Edgeworthstown. There was also an option to register online prior to the event and then watch this over Zoom. In this episode, you will hear a bit less from me and more from some guest speakers who were present at the event. Our first speaker will be Ray Jordan, the man with the dream, who tells us a bit about Richard Lovell Edgeworth's dream.
I would like to introduce you to Richard Lovell Edgeworth, a man with a dream. His dream was to use a semaphore system he had invented to connect Dublin and Galway. His main reason was he believed if Napoleon were to attack, he would do so on the west coast, and 1798 proved him right. He also realised the system could have a beneficial side through commerce to the west. Richard's vocabulary book consisted of 7 different sections, and his idea was that actually all the messages that you could send or all the messages you could receive would actually be held in a book, and this book he called a vocabulary. It would be held at either end of the link. So for instance, there would be one held in Dublin and there would also be one held in Galway. Now, he believed that that was a clever way to do things, and in fact, on one occasion he reasoned that he called his book a machine. But let's example, take a message we would like to send to Galway. What is your weather like today? Let us allocate the code 2345 to that perennial question, and then see where that takes us. You can see that the digit 2 will actually select section 2. And in section 2 then, the next digit 3, will select page 3 of the 7 pages in that section. Then the last 2 digits, 45, will select message 45 out of the possible, I think, 77 messages that could have been on that in that section.
At the Galway end, we had Brendan Smith from the Insight Centre for Data Analytics at the University of Galway, and we hear his views on early forms of long-distance communications and where our recreation fits into that history.
That's part of the nature of technology, innovative technology, pioneering technology. So we think you might have seen that program earlier in the week about the cable that changed the world. You know, it took years. There was many false starts before it happened in 1866. In 1907, we had the first regular connection over the airwaves between Marconi Station in Ballyconneely at the west coast of Galway and into the America. We feel so how would I say, privileged to be here today to see for the first time since 1805 the semaphore connection between Galway City on the west coast to Dublin on the east coast. So this is very much something that most of us knew nothing about, that communications long distance really didn't start in 1866. It actually goes further back in time, and Galway and Ireland has played a prominent part.
Our next speaker is Dr. Joanna Wharton of York University and UCC, who was our historical advisor for the 2023 and 2024 events, and she gives us some background on how the original event came to be and how successful it was.
So it's incredibly exciting for me to see the Telegraph in action today after many years of looking for it in books and dusty archives. This moment has really brought history to life in a way that written words can never fully capture. So my own fascination with this technology came about through my research on Mariah Edgeworth, who fictionalised the Telegraph in some of her tales. So in one story in particular, a Cornish tin miner carries a telegraph to India, and that's a narrative that would later actually echo in reality when a man who worked on the telegraph in Ireland took Richard Lovell Edgeworth's design to Calcutta, where a series of machines were built for the East India Company. And remarkably, some of those towers are still standing today.
Mariah's involvement with the Telegraph went beyond fiction as well. So in collaboration with her father, she wrote letters to the government and essays that publicised his invention. She even contributed to the creation of the Telegraph software, the code book, or the vocabulary, as it was called, and the vocabulary was dedicated to the Lord Lieutenant with the words spoken by the Telegraph's second message today, which was, "By arms and science, Hardwick guards the throne, and with a nation's glory blends his own." So it's brilliant to see that transmitted in your messages today. Despite the challenges, including the Irish weather, the telegraph line was completed and messages were transmitted at astonishing speeds. On the 5th of July 1804, the Dublin Journal announced that 54 signals had actually been sent and received in 31 minutes.
Along with those who attended the event in Galway, Dublin and Edgeworth, we also had a worldwide audience from the USA, Malta, the United Kingdom, Palestine and Austria, as well as Ireland, who logged in via Zoom to watch the event. There was also an option after the event to comment or ask questions, and we hear now from some of these guests.
So we have Karen Lach there from Austria. Karen, delighted to see you there coming in from Austria. If you'd like to say a few words to us, you are more than welcome. Oh, great! Is that you, Karen?
Yes, it is. So I'm enjoying this so much, and you're doing such a great thing here. Yeah, fantastic.
Well, it's great to hear you. What part of Austria are you in? Can you tell us?
Oh, I'm in Vienna, and yeah, I'm a librarian, and part of our library covers Irish studies, and obviously there's a Mariah Edgeworth interest, and also the science part is quite exciting.
We would be delighted if Doha could say maybe a word to us from Ramallah. I know how difficult it is to get communications there, but can you hear us there all the way in the West Bank, Doha?
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Doha, and I'm honored to join you today from Palestine. It's honestly a privilege to be a part of this event, exploring the rich cultural heritage of Ireland through the lens of the Edgeworth Telegraph. For me, learning about Ireland's history is very meaningful as a Palestinian, given the strong bond between our two peoples. And as someone who witnesses daily the impact of Ireland's support for Palestinians, being here feels like a way to give back by learning and celebrating with you. Thank you for having me and inviting me today.
But before you contact me, Ken, I wasn't aware of this, this system historically. And like a lot of people, I kind of assumed that it all started with Marconi and, with Morse code, I suppose, prior to that. Like a lot of ham radio operators back in the day, I had to take a Morse code exam to get my license. And we used to do 12 words a minute. Which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's challenging to get the speed up on that. But well done on the setup today, and it visually looked well. And the codes, the concept back then was very interesting to think of what they were trying to achieve with that, given the technology constraints of the time.
So our recreation concluded successfully, and we had a good day at the Irish Museum of Modern Art, and we returned home in high spirits. This brings us to the end of this podcast episode. As mentioned earlier, you can watch the full day event on our YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed this episode and will like and subscribe to hear more. Please share with friends and spread the news. Until the next time. If you are interested in learning more about the Society and the history they preserve, please visit www.mariaedgeworthcentre.com. You can sign up to our newsletter, book tours, learn about our annual literary festival, and read up on some of the remarkable people who have links to our town.
This has been the Edgeworth Echoes podcast, rediscovering history.